FAA cuts snarl air travel as the shutdown continues. I'm Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
As of this morning, over 1,000 flights have been canceled. Travelers are standing in line for hours just to get through security.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer speaking from the Senate floor during today's rare Saturday session as lawmakers try to find a way to end the government shutdown.
Parents traveling to see their kids have had their plans turned upside down. People traveling for funerals, family reunions, business trips have all too often been met with chaos.
And Schumer says it's time to end the shutdown. He offered an option for that by extending Obamacare subsidies for 1 year yesterday, but Republicans shot that down. Fox's Chad Pergram reports from Capitol Hill that lawmakers appear to be far apart from ending the shutdown, now the longest in U.S. history at day 39.
Wheels are turning behind the scenes, but it's unclear if a weekend session can reopen the government. There's a plan to run the government through the end of January. It also funds the Department of Veterans Affairs, ag programs, and Congress until next fall. It needs 60 yeas. Now, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer offered a straight funding bill yesterday, but he tacked on a year-long extension of money for Obamacare. Republicans flatly rejected that. Democrats also blocked for a third time a bill to pay government workers. Democrats believe that bill gave too much power to the president to pick who gets paid.
And the Supreme Court grants the Trump administration emergency appeal to temporarily block a court order to fully fund SNAP payments. And that's leaving tens of millions of families in America in dire situations, wondering how to put food on the table. High Court's decision gives the administration time to appeal the lower court order. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Making quite the drug bust. I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. Hundreds of pounds of drugs are now off the streets, all thanks in part to a canine. Here's Ryan Hedrick.
And that canine cop, his name is Echo, and Plainfield cops are taking credit for the bust. And it started as a minor traffic violation along I-70. And as the investigation progressed, police knew something was up. They spotted 216 pounds of weed, all sealed in individual vacuum-sealed bags, and they're using it as an opportunity to tell parents to talk to their kids about the dangers of marijuana. Reporting from the Plainfield Police Department, Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
After being previously charged with possessing child pornography in October, 23-year-old Hannah Nash from Muncie is back in jail facing charges of child molesting. Indiana State Police arrested Nash after pulling her over in Henry County on Friday. She was arrested the first time after a tip came in from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children stating one of her internet accounts contained child sex abuse material. Now she's sitting in the Delaware County Jail waiting on formal charges. And TSA workers in Indianapolis are starting to feel the effects of the government shutdown, which has now reached 40 days.
They're going to be unable to come to work. That's going to increase the number of people we have available to screen everyone. That is going to cause a snowball effect. It's going to create longer wait times.
Indiana TSA Union Representative Miles Wagner told Wish TV that there are more than 500 TSA workers in the state who have gone multiple weeks without a paycheck. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Falling temperatures Sunday, rain mixing with snow at times. 42 for the morning temperature. Afternoon numbers will be in the mid-30s Sunday. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
If your loved one has stopped seeing friends because hearing loss prevents the use of the telephone, please help them by visiting RelayIndiana.com. RelayIndiana.com provides captioned telephones that allow the hard of hearing to have phone conversations through voice recognition technology. The other person's words appear on an easy-to-read screen. Help your loved one stay in touch with their family and friends by getting them the captioned telephone from Relay Indiana. Learn more at RelayIndiana.com.
Let's go! You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, and COVID-19. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and help strengthen your immune response. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Schedule in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Reach your fitness goals in 2025 with a 20-minute once-a-week program at Exercise Inc. 5 locations now in Fishers. Visit exerciseinc.com.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And good afternoon, and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're glad you're with us. A lot to talk about. One thing that a lot of folks have contacted me about that I will not be discussing with any specificity at all or directly is the shooting in Whitestown. And it was a horrible tragedy, as anyone knows who's familiar with the process and familiar with the case. There is no case, it's an open investigation, but there was a tragic shooting. It really looked like due to a mistake, a cleaning crew went to the wrong house. And that's about as much as I'm going to say about it, because I've been hired by a party involved due to the obvious self-defense issues there, and to assist them through that investigation. Now, I've talked to the Boone County prosecutor and been in contact with Whitestown Police, and they are doing, I think, a very professional and thorough investigation, and we'll see where that goes. But in the meantime, I'm not going to be talking about that case on the radio. If anybody has questions about that case, I'm going to have to say, I'm sorry, I can't discuss it. I think to be a professional, that's the only option. If somebody has general questions about the law of self-defense and how the law of self-defense operates in Indiana, I'm happy to answer those generic questions, not with application to that specific shooting. And I've been talking about those issues for a generation or more. That's what I teach in my classes. So the law is the law, and I'm happy to discuss those issues. So if you have questions about the law of self-defense, you have questions about the Castle Doctrine, our Stand Your Ground law, what's the difference? What makes Indiana's law a Castle Doctrine or a Stand Your Ground law? If you just want to know how the law operates in this area, hypothetically or generically, hey, that's fair game. I've been discussing those issues and teaching those issues for a long, long time. So give us a call, join the discussion. We really do want to take your calls throughout the show, as we always do. Area code 317-239-9393. And you will actually, if you call in here during the show, you will get to talk to celebrity guest producer Kylan Talley. Is producing the show tonight. Producer Jack has gone on to a career outside WIBC, and so we were lucky enough to actually score, again, guest celebrity producer Kylan Talley. You can see Kylan in productions over at Indiana Repertory Theater, at other neighborhood theaters around Indianapolis. She is an accomplished actress, and we love having her here producing the show. So Kylan, thanks so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Out of all of the shows that I'm constantly producing on this station, it's an honor to be here.
See, there you go. That's why we like Kylan right there. But give us a call, join the discussion, 317-239-9393. Well, there's a lot going on in front of the Supreme Court. In fact, the Supreme Court has agreed to take the Hemani case, and you've heard me talk about that. That is a case involving a person who was ostensibly prohibited from possessing firearms by federal law because he was a quote-unquote user of or addicted to illegal drugs, specifically marijuana. And we'll see where that goes and what the Supreme Court does with that. But in the meantime, there are several other cases that the Supreme Court is considering and may very likely take. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do in terms of those cases. And some of them are, I think, cases that the Supreme Court absolutely positively should take. These are important issues that need to be considered. Things like a so-called high-capacity magazine ban. Things like Florida's relatively new law. Well, they passed it after the Parkland shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School, but that no one under 21 can buy any firearm whatsoever, long gun included, rifles, shotguns. Federal law, of course, prohibits those under 21 from purchasing a handgun. And that law at the federal level is also being challenged in a case that the Supreme Court is considering. And in fact, each of those cases is going to be considered in committee, in conference, they call it, at the Supreme Court. So how does that work? So when a case is resolved at a lower court level, usually by the highest court of a state, like the Florida Supreme Court, in the case of the ban on under 21-year-olds not being able to purchase a firearm in Florida, or in a federal appeals court, like happened in the federal case involving the federal law that says you can't buy a handgun if you're under 21. If someone doesn't like that result, a loser at that level can file what's called a petition for certiorari in the Supreme Court. A lot of times we just abbreviate that and call it a petition for cert. And the Supreme Court then considers whether it will take that case. And what's really interesting, and I've always found this fascinating, is the Supreme Court applies what they call the rule of four. What is the rule of four? You will not find this in the Constitution. You will not find it in a federal statute anywhere. You won't find it anywhere other than the habit and custom of the Supreme Court, which goes back, a couple or goes back 100 or a couple hundred years. Which is that if 4 justices of the Supreme Court out of the 9, so it's not even a majority, want to hear a case where a petition for cert has been filed, then the Supreme Court takes the case. And they grant certiorari. That doesn't indicate necessarily what they're going to do with the case. A lot of times people think, well, if they're okay with the result below, they'll just deny cert. And so if they take it, they're more than likely to reverse. I do not think that's the case. I just think a lot of times there's a difference among circuit courts. So if you have a 4th Circuit ruling one way and the 9th Circuit ruling another way, the Supreme Court feels the need to resolve that disparity in the rulings of the different circuit court of appeals. And so it will resolve that. It may resolve it by affirming whatever the lower court did with it in the case that's specifically being appealed to the Supreme Court. So I don't know that you can necessarily draw any conclusions when the Supreme Court takes a case. Sometimes when they don't take a case, I think it's not necessarily because they don't have 4 people that want to hear it, 4 justices that want to hear it. I think sometimes they don't take a case because the justices that think the lower court case should be overturned don't necessarily think they have the votes, that is that 5th justice, to reach the result they want. So even though we may have 4 that really want to overturn the result in the lower court, they won't get to 4. They won't get 4 up votes because they don't think they have a 5th necessarily. Now, with a more conservative court here, with the Trump appointees being confirmed over the recent years, I think that's become less of an issue, which is why you see the Supreme Court taking more Second Amendment cases. And they took the Bruen case, for instance, and that dramatically changed the way Second Amendment issues are resolved in courts all across the country. And they've taken others since then as well, including the Hamani case, which I discussed. So we'll see where these go, but I'm really interested and excited to see what the Supreme Court does with these. I would love for them, for instance, to take the case that says if you're somewhere between 18 and 20, you can't buy a handgun. It makes no sense to me. For instance, applied here in Indiana, how old do you have to be to get an Indiana license to carry a handgun? Even though you don't necessarily have to have a license to carry, since we passed constitutional carry back in 2022, it's still a very good idea to have a license. In fact, you know what? After this next break, I'll go into some of the reasons why it's still a really good idea to have a license, one in particular that also deals with the application of federal law. But how old do you have to be to get a license? 18. How old do you have to be to carry a handgun concealed or openly under constitutional carry? 18. How old do you have to be to buy a gun from a private individual? How old does a buyer have to be for you to legally sell a gun to that private individual? 18. A handgun. And yet federal law says they can't go into a gun store and buy their own gun from the gun store? That the federal firearms licensee, that is that licensed dealer, can lose their license? And they're actually violating federal law, that the 19 or 20-year-old can go to prison when they can walk out into the parking lot and legally buy a gun from a private individual. Does that make any damn sense? Of course it doesn't. And the reason you hear often, and you've heard it from me and you hear it from others, which is if you can serve in the military, if you can walk down and volunteer into the armed services, and someone's going to hand you an M4 select fire automatic weapon, or teach you to drive a tank, or operate an artillery unit, or operate a drone, and handle any number of high-tech lethal weapons for the United States in the service of your country, and that's totally okay, and we're all okay with that. In fact, we praise those people, rightfully so, and thank them for their service and putting themselves in harm's way, and then they come home, and if they're not 21 yet, having just been driving a tank in the military, or as I said, operating an artillery unit, they can't walk in their local gun store and buy a handgun? Come on. So the Supreme Court taking that case, I think, would be a wonderful thing, and overturning that law would be a wonderful thing as well. The Hamani case on a marijuana user, do I think marijuana users should be prohibited from possessing firearms? Absolutely not. And listen, marijuana use is not a high priority issue for me. I learned in college marijuana and I don't get along. I want to go curl up in a fetal position and go to sleep and not talk to anybody. I learned that early on. And so that issue in particular doesn't really mean much to me. I can tell you, having spent many years doing my children's laundry, it is an issue for a couple of my kids. I learned that. You learn a lot about your kids doing laundry. There's no doubt about that. But notwithstanding the fact that I don't have any personal interest in the legalization of marijuana, as far as personally, you know how many veterans I've talked to that say it helps them tremendously with PTSD? You know how many people I've talked to, including veterans, that say it helps them with pain management? I've got a couple of buddies, even separate and apart from military service, that just have stomach issues, gastrointestinal issues, and they say marijuana use settles their stomach down. I'm not sure I understand the physics, or the physiology is a better word for that. But hey, if it works for them, so be it. Even if it's a placebo, if it works for them, so be it. Should any of those people, including the veterans, for crying out loud, that suffered PTSD in the service of their country, having put themselves in harm's way, should they then come home and, because they've decided, and in many states, in consultation with their doctor, to use marijuana for remedial purposes, they should lose their Second Amendment rights? They just put themselves in harm's way defending your constitutional rights and my constitutional rights, our freedom, our way of living. Then they come home and they can't exercise their own constitutional rights under the Second Amendment? That make any sense to you? Of course it does not. So I think the Supreme Court will do the right thing as to marijuana users. And listen, even though I'm not a marijuana user, because again, it doesn't get along with me, I haven't met very many beers I haven't liked. So am I a beer drinker? You betcha. Do I think I should be prohibited from possessing a firearm because I drink beer? Of course not. At the same time, if somebody, let's say somebody's driving home and I happen to be in front of them on the interstate, they're driving up behind me. If I had my choice between that person having had 10 beers in the last hour or smoked a couple of joints, which do you think I'd choose? I'll take the joints all day long. You don't hear that many people. I'm sure it happens. Again, I don't run in these circles. How many people go out and crash their car because they smoked a joint? I don't know that happens a lot compared certainly to drunk drivers. Even though I'm an alcohol user and not a marijuana user, there's a pretty decent challenge that in terms of impact on society, alcohol users ought to be impacted in terms of their Second Amendment rights more than marijuana users. Now, am I advocating for that? Of course not. But you see the logic or lack thereof when it comes to prohibiting people from possessing firearms simply because they smoke a joint from time to time. So anyway, we'll see what goes on there. I'll talk about some of these other cases in the Supreme Court, and we'll start taking your calls. Got a Second Amendment question, whether it's self-defense or otherwise, some of these cases pending before the Supreme Court. Again, give us a call. Talk to producer Kylan, who's sitting in for us tonight. It's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
America has a new favorite beer. It's Mich Ultra. If you remember, Modelo was the number one beer in America. They're blaming Trump. The Trump administration's immigration policies have affected it. Oh, come on.
At least Cracker Barrel came out and said, hey, we screwed up. We're going to go back to the way things were. Bud Light never did.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. You know, one thing that I often mention here in the show that we do at the law office, expungements and restorations. If you've lost your Second Amendment rights, perhaps due to an old felony conviction, we talked to a lot of folks. I just talked to a gentleman over social media today who had an old 20-year-old drunk driving conviction. It was the second one that he'd gotten within 5 years at the time, and so it was a felony. And he hasn't been able to go hunting or possess a firearm in all that time. And we're going to restore his rights, which we can do. Expungement does that for a lot of convictions. Others, it may need a separate restoration process. If you'd like to talk about that, if you're interested in perhaps restoring your rights, or if that applies to a friend or family member, give us a call. You can contact us through the website. It's just relfordlaw.com. You can send us an email through the website or give us a call. Again, it's relfordlaw.com.
If you have Medicaid and are new to Medicare, you may qualify to enroll in a Humana Medicare Advantage dual-eligible special needs plan with a lot more benefits, like dental, vision, and hearing, along with helpful support when you need it most. Now is the time to see if you qualify to enroll. It only takes a few minutes to find out if you're eligible. Our licensed sales agents are ready to help you understand your options. So this Medicare planning season, we can help you plan well. Learn more at humanaduals.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a dual-eligible special needs HMO SNP plan with a Medicare contract and a contract with the state Medicaid program. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Indy, don't use the beautiful fall to paint. Do what Deanna did. She called Rhino Shield.
I was noticing some cracks and the paint's faded. I was like, okay, I think I should get my house painted. So my neighbor had a Rhino Shield placard in the yard. And after they were finished, I was just, wow. With the warranty and everything, it just seemed silly not to go that route.
The ceramic coating of Rhino Shield is specifically formulated for our climate.
So the Rhino Shield crew came out. Nothing was damaged in the process. I was very happy. They just didn't leave a mess. You couldn't even tell they were there. And the house looked so different. It just looked like a new home.
Backed by a 25-year transferable warranty. And now get the protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Rhino Shield, I think it increases the value and the curb appeal of your home. Definitely worth it.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, is it true?
What's that?
Tire Discounters is offering up to $200 off sets of Goodyear tires?
Absolutely.
Plus free alignment and a full synthetic oil change?
You got it.
I'm not one to exaggerate, but that may be the best deal in the history of the world.
But free would be better.
Mike, don't toy with me.
Through the holidays, every day we're open, someone will get their money back on 4 tires.
But I...
Just breathe, Phantom. Breathe.
No purchase necessary. Ends 12/31/25. Visit website for details.
Fostech is the family-owned business that makes incredible firearms right here in Indiana. Fostech, created by 2 career firefighters and 1 U.S. Air Force veteran, they create special, unique firearms. American craftsmanship, meaning cutting-edge technology. Their Origin 12 shotgun is the envy of the industry, and all their products are designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Follow Fostech on Facebook and Instagram at Fostech_INC. Find a dealer near you or visit Fostech.com. That's Fostech. Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
Remember lining up before dawn on Black Friday? Those days might be gone, but the excitement isn't. Great Lakes Honda Fishers is keeping Black Friday alive all month long. This week only, lease a 2025 Accord SE for $299 a month with 0 down and register to win a $500 Visa gift card. Visit Great Lakes Honda Fishers off State Road 37 or at GreatLakesHondaFishers.com, where every day is Black Friday. Tax not included with approved credit through Honda Financial. In-stock new Hondas only, not combinable with other offers. $10K a year. All fees and first payment due at signing. Offer ends November 9th. See dealer for details.
Together, we can provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Hey, during that break, I learned something about celebrity guest producer Kylan that I did not know. Starting the 21st, so that's the Friday before Thanksgiving, over at the Indianapolis Zoo, Kylan will be over there entertaining the kids as the Ice Princess. And that's going to go on through Christmas all the way to New Year's. And so you want to go over there, you would get pictures taken not only with the penguins, and other fabulous animals at the Indianapolis Zoo, especially ones that are active in the wintertime. But get your kids' picture with the Ice Princess, Kylan Talley, as well. That's kind of a cool gig. How'd that happen?
I love it so much. I had started as one of their witches with Zubu. You might have heard about it, or if you go to the zoo and trick-or-treat there, that's what I was doing.
Hold on, you went from a witch to the Ice Princess? That's a pretty broad range there.
It's a pretty 180, yeah. But the Ice Princess, Princess Noelle. I'll be hanging out in the ice area when you first enter the zoo, but then also by the seals. The seals are very active during winter. And then you can go to the Santa's Village and take a picture with Santa.
Oh, okay. How cool is that?
All of it in one.
There you go. I'll tell you what, even my grandkids are getting a little old for that kind of thing, although I bet I can talk them into that.
Oh, my gosh. And the lights. Yes, there's so many beautiful light displays for you to see.
Oh, at the zoo?
Yes.
That's fantastic. And they have those up already?
Yeah, they're working on it. They started putting them up during Halloween.
Oh, wow.
It's a long process. But
that's fantastic.
It's gorgeous and a lovely night out.
Well, there you go. There's a lot of cool things to do in Indianapolis, but going to the zoo and hanging out with the penguins, the seals, and the Ice Princess, it's got to be pretty cool. So check that out. I'll tell you what, let's go to the phone lines, and Paul has called. Paul, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, how are you today?
Good, brother. How you doing?
Good. Got a question about starting pistols.
Yeah.
I work at an antique store, and there's a dealer that sells black powder guns, but he had a starting pistol in there, and we don't think it's legal to sell starting pistols, only for the reason, as I looked it up online, they're easily convertible, like you can take the barrel off, even though it's a starting pistol. Is it legal to sell those, without a license?
Yeah, no, Paul, it's an interesting question, and I haven't looked at this particular statute in a while, but the definition of firearm in federal law, under federal law, and Indiana's definition is a little different, but federal law, in terms of what's legal to sell and whatnot, and what's legal to sell without a license, federal law controls that anyway. Federal law defines a firearm as a weapon expelled to eject to expel a projectile by means of an explosion. Okay, I'll start that over. A weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosion, and starter pistols. So under federal law, they actually have a specific reference to starter pistols, and then they go on and also say, or a suppressor or silencer, or as they call it under federal law, a firearm muffler, or a frame or receiver for any such weapon. And so federal law names starter pistols specifically, Paul. So I think your concern is warranted, and if I were that person, I'd be a little concerned. Now, one little caveat: I've not looked at that statute myself in quite some time. I don't think it's been changed, but the last time I looked at it, they called out starter pistols specifically to bring starter pistols within the definition of a firearm, and the readily convertible language also is a potential problem. But, a lot of starter pistols actually have like solid barrels and whatnot, so they couldn't expel a projectile if you wanted them to without actually completely replacing major components. But anyway, that's the answer to that. I'll tell you, also on the phone, we had a person call in and ask me through producer Kylan what my opinion is of the Byrna type weapon. I talked about these a little bit here recently in the context of a person who gotten arrested in Fishers for impersonating a police officer and also for criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon, and I believe pointing a firearm as well, and intimidation with a deadly weapon, if I'm remembering the charges correctly, after he was waving around what turned out to be a Byrna pistol in a bar or restaurant in Fishers. Now, if I don't have those facts just exactly right, please forgive me, because it's been a few weeks, I think, since I read the news articles on this, and I was not contacted about that particular case, so I'm not involved. But in that context, I was talking about the Byrna guns. What is that? It's a CO2-powered gun, as I understand it. I've never fired one. I've never operated one. I've read up on them because I get questions about them all the time. People contact me through social media and want me to know what I think. They'll say, my wife is uncomfortable with the idea of shooting someone, but I'm going to get her this Byrna. And what they do is they shoot either a solid projectile, what I think they call their ballistic rounds, if I'm remembering correctly, that's like just solid plastic, and it's basically just designed to hurt a lot, right? It's a solid projectile that hits you. It's not like an airsoft that's just plastic and hollow. It's like solid, and so it's got some inertia behind it, some weight behind it, and so it's going to leave a big old welt and maybe knock you off your feet. I do not know whether it's got that kind of muzzle velocity or not. Or they also fire a pepper ball round where it's a round projectile that's got some kind of OC or mace-type compound inside it that bursts when it hits something. So if you shoot somebody in the chest and that bursts, then, not only are they saying ow because they just got shot in the chest with this plastic projectile, but they also now have a burst of OC, like pepper spray for the more common term, perhaps, for a lot of folks, and that's going to somehow incapacitate them. I'm not a big fan of things like that. I think if someone is on drugs or crazy or some combination thereof, or just highly motivated, I don't know that I want to rely on a plastic projectile that mainly is just inflicting some amount of pain on them to dissuade them. If they're set on being a bad guy, I'm not sure that it's going to be all that effective to convince them to not be a bad guy in that particular instance. And so I don't know how reliable they are. So for that reason, I've not given them like my heartfelt endorsement. But listen, better than nothing, right? People say the best gun you have is the gun that's in your hand. And if that's only a Byrna, would I prefer that over empty hands? Oh, hell yeah. You bet. So, but I just don't know that they're entirely reliable. So I can't give my heartfelt endorsement on that basis. And with that, I'll tell you what, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. So with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break. Give us a call, join the discussion, and we'll get you right on the air with producer Kylan. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
The problem with the IEDC, the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, they can avoid giving information that other government agencies have to give away. This is the state taking money from you and giving it away to their buddies.
It does make you question the impact on Indiana taxpayers.
I think the worst part about it is nothing's going to happen to these people and nothing meaningful will come of it.
Kendall and Casey, weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Hey guys, it's Rob. We're into fall now, and if you've been putting off those home improvement projects, this is your reminder. The cold weather is on the way. And one of the smartest upgrades you can make, replacing those old drafty windows before winter hits. And Universal Windows Direct is making it easier than ever to do just that. Right now, when you buy 2 windows, you get 2 free. You'll also get 36 months of 0% financing with equal monthly payments, same as cash, and a $500 bonus off your project. So let's review. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free, no limit. 36 months of 0% financing with equal monthly payments, same as cash, and a $500 bonus off your project. Now, some restrictions may apply. So to schedule your totally free, no hassle, no obligation consultation and get all the details, call Universal Windows Direct today at 317-659-7574. 317-659-7574. UniversalWindowsDirect.com. Tell them Rob sent you.
Our electric bills have increased as much as $50 each month. Governor Mike Braun is driving bills even higher. Instead of helping families, Governor Braun is doubling down on costly coal, gas, and nuclear. That means more pricey power plants that Hoosiers like us have to pay for. Utilities get richer, we pay more. Something has to give. Go to StopMikesHikes.com today to send Governor Braun a message. Hoosiers need affordable energy, not a blank check for greedy utilities. Paid for by Citizens Action Coalition.
Sundown Gardens is continuing their big fall sale. Come shop the nursery to save now to add trees and shrubs to your landscape. Whether you're adding shade, color, or curb appeal, fall planting helps trees and shrubs root in for the winter, and they'll thrive next spring. The best part? All nursery items are now 30 to 50% off. That's 30 to 50% off. Shop now and save at Sundown Gardens, located on the corner of 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield, sundown.gardens.com.
Fox News, I'm Roger Stern. Another day of chaos at U.S. airports as the government cancels more flights. Madison Scarpino is at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport.
We are already at more than 1,000 cancellations nationwide. And as for delays, well over 4,000 at this point. And people we've been talking to are fed up.
She says airlines are notifying passengers of cancellations ahead of time, so many are not crowding the airport. The Senate just adjourned for the weekend after failing to reopen the federal government.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer offered a straight funding bill yesterday, but he tacked on a year-long extension of money for Obamacare. Republicans flatly rejected that.
Fox's Chad Pergram. America is listening to Fox News.
You know that moment. Right before the relatives arrive, when you suddenly see every spot, stain, and pet hair in the house. Hi, this is Denny Smith for Zero Res, and I'm here to tell you, don't DIY it before Thanksgiving. Leave it to the cleaning heroes at Zero Res. They'll make your carpets, upholstery, and even your air ducts shine without soap, residue, or harsh chemicals. Right now, get 3 rooms cleaned starting at $129 and take $50 off air duct cleaning. That's how you get your home looking and smelling like you meant to plan ahead. With over 5,100 Google reviews and a 4.9 rating, you can trust Zero Res to get it right the first time. So before Aunt Terry starts helping with the vacuum, call the pros. 317-388-5141 or ZeroResIndy.com, because nothing says welcome home like carpets so clean you could eat your pie off of them. But please don't. Zero Res, forward or backward, it spells the same, and it spells clean. 317-388-5141 or ZeroResIndy.com.
Serving Indiana means being ready for growing energy demands. At Duke Energy, we're adding more power to the grid and working on hundreds of local projects to make your energy more reliable. We've strengthened nearly 20,000 poles, updated more than 270 substations, and prevented hundreds of thousands of outage hours with self-healing grid technology, so your power can come back on faster than ever. That's the smarter energy future Indiana deserves. Paid for by Duke Energy shareholders.
Are you ready for retirement or just hoping for the best? At Wise Money Radio, we bring you the strategies, stories, and straight talk you need to make your money work smarter so you can live wiser. From taxes and healthcare costs to Social Security and income planning, we cut through the noise to give you the clarity you deserve. Listen to Wise Money Radio with Joe Wilson of Omega Wealth Private Capital, Saturday mornings at 5 right here on 93.1 WIBC.
Your rights, your responsibilities, your guns. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I actually just looked up the news article on this gentleman in Fishers who's being prosecuted. I should look up his case in the system I have access to by being a lawyer and see what the status of that case is. But when it happened, this is interesting to me because we're talking about this Byrna, which is a CO2-powered gun. Shoots either a solid projectile called a kinetic round. I think I called it ballistic or something just now before the break. Byrna calls it a kinetic. That's the solid one that isn't loaded with any kind of pepper compound, and then their OC round being separate. But he was charged with 3 felony counts of intimidation. That's intimidation with a deadly weapon, and then 2 felony counts of criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon. And also charged with impersonating a police officer. But that's kind of interesting to me because if you say, well, I don't get the downsides of carrying or using this thing because it's non-lethal, quote unquote, and I think most people trained in the area would call it less lethal, not non-lethal. And in fact, I think where that deadly weapon part comes from is Byrna on their website, if I recall correctly, actually warns you to say, well, if you hit someone in the head or the spine, you can potentially kill or paralyze them. And so that's obviously serious bodily injury. And if so, capable of causing serious bodily injury, then it can be termed a deadly weapon in court. And I'm sure that's where his intimidation with a deadly weapon and criminal recklessness with a deadly weapon counts come from, at least according to the prosecutors in Hamilton County. But I'll tell you what, a couple other folks have called in wanting to talk about Byrna. And Matt, I think, Matt, you've had some personal experience. I hope you were on the right end of that personal experience.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll also say that I was able to friend you on Facebook when you switched your stuff, and I'm grateful for that because I like to associate with people that are smarter than me.
Well, I'm not sure that's true, but I take that. By the way, I didn't just switch my stuff, quote unquote. I lost my account completely on Facebook. I got thrown off.
Yes.
And I'll tell that story one of these days, but I think I probably have in the past. But yeah, I lost 12,000 followers, and I had to start over. But anyway, glad we made contact on Facebook. But tell me the story about you, using a Byrna?
Yeah, so it came across my feed, so I did a bunch of research, watched a bunch of videos, and number one, Byrnas are crazy expensive.
Are they really?
So they're like $400. But then there's other companies that make a similar product that has the same feet per second, the same ballistics, for way less. So I bought one.
What is the muzzle velocity on the thing? You say the same feet per second. What do you know? Do you recall offhand?
300.
Oh, okay.
300 feet per second is what I remember. Yeah.
And somebody put that in perspective. A relatively slow handgun round would be like a 45 ACP, which is about 750, 800 feet per second. So appreciably slower even than what we consider a pretty slow handgun round. But I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's relevant. So anyways, I'm raising a crazy 17-year-old son, and he has goofy friends. So I put face protection on him, full face shield, and 20 feet away, my son's friend, took 3 rounds to the chest.
Oh, and this is all an experiment. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And I will, I'll send you the video because we're Facebook friends. But
this is
so
the best.
It's basically,
I have questions. Did you any kind of protective gear? Are you wearing like a umpire padded vest or anything? I mean, is it just like taking one with a t-shirt or a flannel shirt?
No, full face shield.
Face shield.
I had his face completely covered, and he was just wearing a regular T-shirt. It was summertime.
Wow.
And he was about 20, 25 feet away. And I had already seen a bunch of videos of this being done, so I knew I wasn't endangering this kid's life, right?
Yeah. So you shot him in the chest.
But yeah, 3 rounds. And the last round was a pepper ball.
Oh boy.
And this kid probably weighed 140 pounds, and at first he was like, ouch, ouch, and it didn't bother me. And he walked up to us. It took about 5 or 6 seconds for the pepper round to actually take effect.
No kidding.
And the end result was something that you would see if you ever competed in a paintball tournament.
Yeah.
And my point to this is that large person, small person, a person in a state of rage or whatever, it's not going to stop them.
Yeah, no.
That's my opinion.
If it even took 5 or 6 seconds for it to register, I mean, a bad guy can get a lot of bad things done in 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, what's the average? I mean, like 7 feet, the average confrontation, and
inside of 10,
they're on top
yeah.
of you.
No, you're right. The
Yeah.
average confrontation happens at just beyond arm's length, actually, is the most common confrontation distance, even for a self-defense shooting. Well, that's interesting. So did you come out of this then concluding that Byrna's not for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's better than nothing, but it's not going to save your life. It's just not.
Yeah. Well, hey, Matt, thanks so much for calling. That's fascinating. I loved hearing that story. And that's also, keep in mind, Matt's son, I think it was, or one of his friends, he said he was 140 pounds. That's not a real big guy. I mean, I weigh 80 pounds more than that. And then you add in like some winter clothing, and then you add in drugs, or say insanity. I get some 300-pound meth head just kick my door in. Do I want him in that situation? Now, I don't know how many 300-pound meth heads there are now that I think about that for a second. But having said that, whatever they happen to be high on, do I want that person, going ow, and then continuing to do what they intended to do when they kicked my door in? No, and no. Plus, let me tell you, from a legal perspective, there's still an interesting issue, which is, I told you the definition of firearm under federal law: a weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosion. Well, Indiana, it has the same definition: expel a projectile by means of an explosion. If you look up the dictionary definition of explosion, it just says a sudden release of gases. That's an explosion. Well, is air a gas? Well, sure. Oxygen, nitrogen mixed, is that a gas? Of course it is. Is CO2 a gas? Yes. So isn't a CO2 gun still a weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosion? And listen, I've been a lawyer for a damn long time, and I practiced exclusively the area of the Second Amendment for a very, very long time, and I have never seen a case in Indiana where someone was prosecuted for, say, being a felon in possession of a CO2 pistol. I've never seen that. Does that mean I would be 1,000% confident, 100% confident, that if someone were to, say, use a CO2 pistol in some way, to have the police called and have the police then look into their background, determine that they're a felon? In Indiana, the prohibition is for serious violent felons from owning a firearm. Could I see a prosecutor taking a position that CO2 pistol, because it's a weapon designed to expel a projectile by means of an explosion, was a firearm, and try to prosecute him for possession of a firearm by a serious violent felon? Now, that is something I have not researched. I have not had that case. If I had a client come in and say that was happening to them, they were being prosecuted, I would do a deep drill on that research, and there may very well be a Court of Appeals or Indiana Supreme Court decision out there that says no, the legislature, when it said explosion, meant the combustion of gunpowder, not just the release of CO2 or air, like in an air rifle. I mean, listen, I have an adult air rifle, I call it, manufactured by Beeman, that I use to shoot squirrels invading the bird feeder. I have to do it both. I have to sneak up on the squirrel, and I also have to do it so as not to get caught by my wife, because she yells at me when I shoot the squirrels. But I shoot them in the butt, and that knocks them off the bird feeder, and they decide that's not a bird feeder they probably should come back to. But that thing shoots at 1,000 feet per second. Now it's shooting a little .17 pellet, and I'm sure it loses velocity very, very quickly. But at short distances, 1,000 feet per second, would I want to get shot with that thing? Oh, hell no. Could I think it could pierce skin? Oh, hell yes. Do I consider that do I consider it a weapon? Certainly I do. Do I think you need to follow all safety protocols when it comes to shooting an air rifle? Oh, hell yes. Do I think someone should go to jail for possession of a firearm when it's illegal for them to possess a firearm because they possessed an air rifle or a CO2 pistol? No, I sure as hell don't. Anyway, we went off on a bit of a tangent, but an interesting discussion. And thanks so much to caller Matt, who called in with his own personal experience. Matt's my kind of guy. A guy who will say, hey, kid, let's go ahead and put a face mask on you so I can shoot you with this burn. That's my kind of guy right there. I'm glad we're friends on Facebook. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Holy cow! Another beautiful play for Indiana.
A new coach, a new team, a new energy in Bloomington.
You're going to see a bunch of guys that are all about winning. They play incredibly hard.
Coach Darren DeVries is ready to write the next chapter in Hoosier basketball.
We love what I think the fans are going to be able to see in terms of how we approach every game.
IU basketball is back. Up next, Marquette, Sunday at 1 on the home of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC.
Guy Relford for the law offices of Guy Relford. Expungement is something that Indiana here in 2013, the legislature made expungement much more available to many more people. The cost has been simplified. The cost has been reduced because the process has been simplified. And it's now available to a lot of people who may have never considered it before. More crimes can be expunged. Convictions for more crimes can be expunged than ever before. And it's really worth taking a look at. If you have a felony conviction and it's been over 8 years since you've had any kind of criminal conviction, then we can potentially expunge that conviction off your record. Now, not all crimes are expungible. Crimes that involve serious bodily injury, for instance, require the prior consent of the prosecutor. But for non-violent things and things that didn't result in anybody getting hurt, like an old drug conviction, like an old OWI conviction, a lot of those we can get expunged off your record and restore your gun rights, as well as your right to hold public office and other constitutional rights that may be lost to someone with a felony conviction. If you're interested in that, you want us to take a look at that under your circumstances, just contact us through the website. Just go to relfordlaw.com and give us a contact through the website on email, or give us a call. The phone number is listed right there. That's relfordlaw.com.
WIBC cares, and if you or someone you care about needs food assistance, we have resources for you, including food distribution locations with an interactive map. Also, learn how you can make a difference for friends and neighbors in need, all at WIBC.com.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Bet365 is paying out before the final whistle.
Check out Bet365's unrivaled early payout offer. When you bet on a team to win and they take a 17-point lead, you get paid no matter the final score. Forget the final whistle and start counting that cash. Hold up. You get early payout on parlays, too.
Download the app and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in Indiana. T&Cs apply.
Attention, Indiana homeowners. Are you tired of avoiding your wet basement? Hi, I'm Mike Smith with Swainco Crawl Space and Basement Repair, your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts. Imagine all the possibilities of a guaranteed dry basement, a cozy new family room, a home gym, or even a new office. And with no interest, no payment financing, you don't have to break the bank to do it. Make the most of your basement today. Call Swainco 317-407-1868 or SwaincoLLC.com.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT. Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Join the Indianapolis Urban League Monday, November 18th at St. Philip's Church for a drive-through food box and meal distribution. Stay in your car and receive fresh produce, meat, dairy, and pantry staples. No ID required while supplies last. Volunteers are needed to help make this event a success.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'll tell you what, we've got kind of a short segment, I should say, here at the top of the hour. But let's go to our phone lines. Our buddy E. Buzzmore has been on hold a bit. E. Buzz, how you doing?
Real good. How are you doing, Guy?
Good, man. We don't have a lot of time, but I think I can fit you in. What you got for us?
Okay, my question is on the whole opposite end of that. Okay, say you get some hyped up, goofed up kid that's all doped up, and an anemic 9mm does not stop him. Now, normally it's 2 to the chest, 1 to the head. If that doesn't stop, like you just glance off the skull or something, what is too much excessive force?
Well, I'll tell you, that's probably a longer answer, Buzz, than we may have time for. But the question comes down to if deadly force was justified in the beginning. If you were justified in using deadly force, as soon as deadly force is justified, then you can use whatever level of force is necessary to stop the threat. And listen, I carry a 9mm. I wouldn't call it anemic, especially with modern performance ammunition. 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, assuming adequate shot placement. Glance off the skull isn't going to happen if you're hitting someone in what we call the cranial ocular cavity, which is basically around the eyes. You know, top of the head, something like that, yeah, it can bounce off. But with good shot placement, it's going to put down anybody that I can imagine. And with that, we're at the top of the hour. Let's take a break. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Food insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
Indy, stop using the fall to paint year after year. Do what Lynn did. She called Rhino Shield.
It is a single-wide manufactured home. We moved from our home, which we had the Rhino Shield on. Rhino Shield was what we were going to do. That was no question. We knew we were going to do it.
Rhino Shield's a ceramic coating. It's not paint. It's better.
The Rhino Shield representative came, and we discussed what we wanted done. And this time, we had the roof done as well.
Now, you can have the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price.
Even the people that have been a little younger than us have said they don't have to worry about getting just an everyday painter because Rhino Shield has the 25-year warranty, and we truly believe in this product.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Madison County Fairgrounds in Alexandria. The best dealers in the region. Hundreds of tables. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Madison County Fairgrounds in Alexandria. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Welcome to Tire Discounters. Oh, hiya, Phantom.
Mike, is it true?
What's that?
Tire Discounters is offering up to $200 off sets of Goodyear tires?
Absolutely.
Plus free alignment and a full synthetic oil change?
You got it.
I'm not one to exaggerate, but that may be the best deal in the history of the world.
But free would be better.
Mike, don't toy with me.
Through the holidays, every day we're open, someone will get their money back on 4 tires.
But I...
Just breathe, Phantom. Breathe.
No purchase necessary, and 12/31/25. Visit website for details.
Join the Indianapolis Urban League Monday, November 18th at St. Philip's Church for a drive-through food box and meal distribution. Stay in your car and receive fresh produce, meat, dairy, and pantry staples. No ID required while supplies last. Volunteers are needed to help make this event a success.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News. 93 WIBC. WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
More travelers stranded. I'm Roger Stern, Fox News. Thousands of U.S. flights canceled or delayed today. Fox's Madison Scarpino and Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
People that we've been talking to, they are very fed up with this, whether or not their flight was impacted. Air traffic controllers, TSA agents, they're not getting paid right now with the government shutdown. So many are not showing up to work. They're taking side jobs, trying to put food on the table. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin says they've talked with workers who are sleeping in their cars and just have dollars left in their bank accounts. And with all that, federal transportation officials want to keep travelers safe. As of yesterday, they cut 4% of their flights at 40 of the nation's biggest airports.
This comes as aviation officials plan to cancel 10% of flights by Friday, and if the shutdown continues, that could rise to 20%. The Senate adjourning for the day as lawmakers look for a way to reopen the government as Democrats worry about rising Obamacare costs. Here's Fox's Chad Pergram on Capitol Hill.
There could be a path to end the government shutdown. The question is if some Democrats will support a new GOP plan to fund the government. Republicans have a bill to reopen the government through the end of January. It would also run the VA along with ag programs. Congressional operations are covered through next fall. President Trump declaring that, quote, Democrats are cracking like dogs on the shutdown. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer pushing a plan to open the government but defray the cost of Obamacare.
Instead of negotiating with Democrats to lower costs, Republicans would rather let air traffic controllers go unpaid.
Republicans balked at Schumer's plan. They are critical of Obamacare.
America is listening to Fox News.
From around the world,
Trey Yingst, joining us from Tel Aviv, Israel.
To Washington,
I'm Mike Emanuel.
To your own backyard. If a story impacts you or your wallet, we're on it. It's the Fox News Rundown. We give every story the deeper look it deserves with must-listen interviews and smart analysis from the voices you can trust. Start your day with the Fox News Rundown. Listen and follow now at foxnewsrundown.com or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network.
Hey, this is Trey Gowdy, host of the Trey Gowdy Podcast. Every Tuesday, you'll hear what's on my mind. Plus, every Thursday, there's a special bonus episode where we answer the questions that are on your mind. Make sure to spend your Tuesdays and Thursdays with Trey. Subscribe now at foxnewspodcast.com or wherever you download podcasts. Hope to see you.
America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They found how much? I'm Jarrett Lewis. Here's what's trending this hour. The term routine traffic stop won't apply for this incident happening in Plainfield. Ryan Hedrick reports.
Plainfield police say some of their officers were patrolling along I-70 recently when they spotted somebody driving a car and pulled them over for a minor traffic violation. Well, as the investigation progressed, it wasn't so minor. They found 216 vacuum-sealed individual packages of marijuana, all thanks to Canine Echo. cops are using it as an opportunity to tell people that marijuana is not legal here. Reporting from the Plainfield Police Department, Ryan Hedrick, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
A Greenwood man is facing up to 60 years in prison after being convicted of multiple felonies, including rape, in connection to a 2023 assault. 37-year-old Tyler Klingensmith was convicted this week by a Johnson County jury on 13 felony charges, including rape, as well as criminal confinement and intimidation. His sentencing is scheduled for January 5th. More flight delays and cancellations are reaching Indianapolis International Airport as the government shutdown has now gone on for more than 39 days. Indiana TSA Union Representative Miles Wagner told Wish TV that about 500 TSA workers in the state are stressed financially.
We've had people quit because they can't pay their landlord. We've had people that had their gas and water shut off because they can't pay those bills. And we're in November now, so it's getting cold.
If the shutdown continues, Wagner believes the safety risk for travelers will grow. I'm Jarrett Lewis on the level on the go and at WIBC.com. Now the forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Falling temperatures Sunday, rain mixing with snow at times. 42 for the morning temperature. Afternoon numbers will be in the mid-30s Sunday. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
Planes, trains, automobiles, and motorcycles. If you've spent a lot of time working or playing around loud vehicles, you may have trouble hearing on the telephone. Get back in gear with Relay Indiana, providing telephone accessibility to the hard of hearing. Relay Indiana allows hearing-impaired callers to have normal phone conversations through voice recognition technology. And there's loaned equipment for those who qualify. Add clarity back in your phone conversations. Get the captioned telephone from Relay Indiana. Visit RelayIndiana.com.
Remember lining up before dawn on Black Friday? Those days might be gone, but the excitement isn't. Great Lakes Honda Fishers is keeping Black Friday alive all month long. This week only, lease a 2025 Accord SE for $299 a month with zero down and register to win a $500 Visa gift card. Visit Great Lakes Honda Fishers off State Road 37 or at GreatLakesHondaFishers.com, where every day is Black Friday. Tax not included with approved credit through Honda Financial. In-stock new Hondas only, not combinable with other offers. $10K a year. All fees and first payment due at signing. Offer ends November 9th. See dealer for details.
Save the date. Sundown Gardens Holiday Open House is November 22nd. Happening now, trees and shrubs 30 to 50% off. Check out sundown.gardens.com.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. We're glad you're with us. As we get into hour number 2, tell you what, let's go immediately to the phone lines. We've had Brad call in, and Brad, I think, had a question perhaps in a previous show that he didn't quite get answered. So did I get that right, Brad? Is there something you like to kind of raise again?
Yes, sir. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, there was a gentleman that called in about expungement, and his crime could not be expunged. So my question is, if someone has had a serious crime that cannot be expunged, and he sends letters to a governor for a state law or to the president for a federal law and shows proof of a changed life or whatever, could the pardon actually be stronger and give them back their Second Amendment rights?
Yes. No, it's a great question, Brad, and I'm glad you called to raise it, because when people have called me before, and the gentleman that you mentioned that called in before, as I recall, had a conviction for a sex crime, and most sex crimes that are felonies cannot be expunged, and I think anybody can understand the public policy behind that. It's not me being judgmental. That's just explaining why, or at least understanding the rationale behind the law. And when people call and they're asking me about expungement, and I have to give them that answer that it can't be expunged, or in some cases, very, very difficult to get an expungement, they say, well, what? You tell me I have no options whatsoever? And my response to them is, well, you can get a pardon from the governor, or as you mentioned, for a federal crime, a pardon from the president. And I've had a couple. It's interesting. In all these years that I've been practicing law, I've had a couple people say, "Well, would you help me request a pardon?" And I've said, "Sure." I mean, I've never done it before, but yeah, every trail has to be blazed the first time at some point, and so I'll say, "Hell, let's figure it out." And it's gotten to the point though where no one's actually hired me to do that. I'd love to try it one time just to go through the process. And I'm sure the way you phrased the question, Brad, is exactly the right way to approach it, which is to, show, one, that there are mitigating circumstances about the crime itself, that perhaps it wasn't as egregious and as perhaps just the crime itself would suggest. But then secondly, talking about how someone's life has changed and how they've turned their lives around. And who knows? I don't know how many pardons are actually granted. I'm sure it varies by governor. I don't know how many pardons Governor Holcomb issued during his time as governor. I don't know now whether Governor Braun has issued any as well at all. But it'd be interesting to look into. But yeah, that is exactly the answer to that question. And just to talk a little bit more, I mean, I was talking about this during the live read, but let's talk a little bit more about that. The general requirements for expungement, for a misdemeanor to get it expunged off your record, it takes 5 years with a clean criminal history. That doesn't include parking, driving offenses, speeding, and whatnot. Those aren't convictions. Those aren't criminal convictions. Those are infractions or ordinance violations. So speeding, things that are non-criminal, that doesn't count. So you can't have any kind of a criminal conviction for the last 5 years. You have to have paid all your fines, fees, and court costs. If there is any restitution, that's usually paying back the victim. So a lot of times, like in theft type convictions, or criminal conversion, which is kind of a misdemeanor level theft type crime, you have to pay somebody back for something you may have stolen. You have to have paid your restitution, met other conditions of your probation, and if you've paid all your fines, fees, court costs, you've had that much time. A misdemeanor, and actually the lowest level felonies, what used to be what we call Class D, D as in Delta, and now what we call Level 6. We went from classes and letters for felonies to levels and numbers back around 2012, 2013, something like that. And we went from ABCD class felonies to 1 through 6 plus murder at the top. And for the lowest level felony, level 6 now, or Class Ds, and misdemeanors, it's actually mandatory for the judge to grant your expungement. If you are eligible for expungement, now for a felony, it's 8 years with a clean criminal history. Again, paid all your fines, fees, and court costs, and restitution, met the conditions of your probation. For level 6 or Class D felonies, if you're eligible, the judge has to grant it. And so a lot of times they don't even hold hearings on those. Now for level 5 or Class Cs and more serious crimes, those are discretionary. And assuming it's an expungible conviction, the judge can grant it or not grant it. So like, let's say you have a Class C or Class B dealing cocaine conviction, and it's from 30 years ago. I had one client, and I asked him if I could share generically his story, and he said I could, which I appreciated a lot, because to me it was a lot of fun to represent him. But he called me one time and he said, "Man, I just tried to buy a gun and I was not able to, and they told me that not only am I a felon, but I'm a serious violent felon." And I was just shocked, because I've never done anything violent in my life. And in fact, for the last 35 years or so, I've been a pastor. And I'm the leader of my church, and I'm the lead pastor. And, I've established, orphanages for children and drug rehabilitation clinics. And I've done all these wonderful things throughout the last 35 years or so. and I'm a pillar of the community, and I'm being told I'm a serious violent felon, and that just shocks me to my core. And I said, well, you mean you've never actually had any kind of criminal conviction? He goes, well, there was that cocaine thing way back when. And I said, oh, that cocaine thing. That's interesting. What cocaine thing are we talking about? And he said, well, back in seminary school, which immediately got my attention. He said, my study group and I were having trouble staying awake to study. We try to do all-nighters or study late for a test, and we just couldn't stay awake. And one guy's roommate had given him a little bit of cocaine just to sort of experiment with. And he said, man, I took a little bit of cocaine and I could just stay up all night, and I could focus and study, and I did better on the test, and I crashed afterward. And so some of the other folks in the study group said, well, man, I'll try that. And so the guy went back to his roommate and figured out where he could get a little bit of cocaine. And later on, the person who turned out to be my client went and asked the same question. He goes, man, where'd you get that? And he said, well, I went and I bought it from this guy. And he went and bought not a large amount at all, but enough for the group to use for the next study session before some test. And of course, one of those other kids got caught with cocaine during a traffic stop. And the cops immediately said, well, who's your dealer? And he said, well, I bought it from so-and-so, who was just another kid in the study group. So he ends up with a felony conviction. It was a Class B felony, B as in Bravo, for dealing cocaine. And all these years ago. And it apparently didn't affect him all that much in his lifetime. I think he told me he had to transfer schools, but got admitted somewhere else. And it really hadn't affected him much since then. He did have to do a little bit of jail time, but I think they let him serve it on weekends or something, if I recall correctly. But he goes, they're telling me that was a felony, and I didn't really do much time in jail. Well, whether it's a felony or not is based on what the maximum penalty for that particular crime is, not the amount of time you were actually ordered to serve. So if something's punishable by over a year, that's a felony. And if you have a felony conviction, any felony conviction, violent, non-violent, doesn't matter how long ago. I had somebody call me one time and said, well, after a certain period of time, don't those fall off your record? Like after 20 years, doesn't a felony fall off your record? And I went, no, nothing falls off your record. If it's on your record, it's on your record, unless you do something to take it off, and that's what expungement's all about. And so they don't fall off. But this guy was shocked to learn that in Indiana he was a serious violent felon when all he did was sell a little bit of cocaine, didn't do anything violent at all. But if you look up the statute that defines serious violent felonies in Indiana, the Indiana legislature decided, yes, obviously violent crimes like armed robbery and rape and murder and those types of crimes that we consider to be obviously violent, not only those are people that we don't then afterward want possessing firearms, according to the legislature. There's a very good argument, and I've had many other people make this argument, and I think it carries a lot of logic, which is if you're not so dangerous that society believes you can be released out of prison and actually re-enter society, if you're not so dangerous that you shouldn't be locked up, then are you so dangerous that you shouldn't be able to exercise your constitutional rights? That's an argument that, to me, has some logic behind it. Now, do I think anytime soon the Indiana legislature is going to remove the prohibition against serious violent felons possessing firearms? Oh, hell no. I see absolutely no appetite for that whatsoever. But the legislature, in defining serious violent felons, which in Indiana, under state law, that's who can't possess a firearm, them plus domestic batterers, even misdemeanor crimes of domestic violence, can't possess firearm. But why did they make the crime of dealing cocaine, why did they make a conviction for that a serious violent felony? Because they also decided they didn't want drug dealers carrying guns. So you have a conviction for dealing heroin, dealing meth, other Schedule I drug, Schedule I. I don't handle drug cases, but I forget that terminology. But other controlled substances, and you have a dealing conviction, not only are you a felon, but you're a serious violent felon. So what did we do? It was a higher level felony, so it was discretionary. So we filed for the expungement. He was clearly eligible. He'd been 30-some years with an absolutely pristine record. And then judge scheduled for a hearing. This is in Hamilton County. And I said, listen, we want people to come in, from the community, other community leaders, maybe other members of your church. If you've got a few people that you think are reputable and whose testimony would be convincing to the judge, then have them come down and I'll meet them before the hearing and we'll talk about their stories and what they can say and we'll decide who we're going to call. And I show up for this hearing and he had to have 30 people there. They're like filled the hall outside the courtroom. And I said, whoa. The court schedules these hearings for about half an hour at the most. And I said, we got to whittle this down. And so we decided on 4 people who were absolute pillars of the community, also community leaders. They had law enforcement, a senior law enforcement person there, like a deacon from the church, and all these very impressive folks. And our client got on the stand and told his story. And it was all this time ago. And then he told his story of all these wonderful things he'd done in the community. And I put somebody on, talked about like the home for child or parentless children that he had established. And another guy got on and talked about the drug rehabilitation clinic that my client went on. And finally the judge looked at me and said, counsel, enough. I'm granting the petition. Stop. And he also saw like the 37 people sitting in the back of the courtroom looking at me like, you're not really going to call all these people, are you? But we got it granted, even though it was discretionary. But that's an example of where, yes, it's discretionary because it was a higher level felony. So the judge has a hearing, wants to hear, what have you done with your life? What were the circumstances going on in your life when you had this conviction? Are you someone who deserves a second chance, deserves to have your rights reinstated? And in my mind, and in my experience, which is extensive because I filed an awful lot of expungement. I was working on an expungement petition this morning before watching the IU game. And I do a lot of them. And in my mind, even the discretionary ones, the judges typically think that if you're going through the process of wanting to have your rights legally restored, you're not the kind of person who's going to go up, pick up a gun at some first opportunity and commit a crime. Especially true where you've gone all this time with a clean record, which you have to have done, 8 years for a felony, to be eligible for expungement to begin with. So I think judges have a positive attitude about people that go through the process. And a lot of times people have really compelling stories to tell. That, now they're professional, now they're happily married, now they, support their children, now they are gainfully employed, long productive employment history. And there are a lot of good stories to tell out there, and judges are really inclined to grant those. So they meet with a lot of success, and as they should, because people deserve that second chance, which is exactly the reason the legislature liberalized the statute in 2013 to make that many more people eligible for expungement. And I love doing them. I love seeing the look on people's faces when their rights are restored. I've had people say, I was a deer hunter my whole life, and then I got this conviction, and for the last 10 or 15 years or whatever it is, I haven't been able to even have a gun next to the bed at night to protect my family. I haven't been able to go deer hunting. I haven't been able to go squirrel hunting with my kids or all the things I used to do with my dad because I had this conviction on my record. So it's a big deal. There are certain crimes that are not expungible. There are also crimes what are called crimes of domestic violence where you can get an expungement for those, but an expungement does not restore gun rights. It says right in the expungement statute, an expungement for a conviction for a crime of domestic violence, it removes it from your record if it's a misdemeanor or a low-level felony, like a D or a 6. It removes it from your record, but it doesn't restore your gun rights. But there's a separate restoration process for that. And a lot of people, unfortunately, have picked up a conviction for battery, for instance, or domestic battery, and there is a definition, a very broad definition for crime of domestic violence that results in people having lost their gun rights. And that comes as a surprise to a lot of people, which I'll go into here a little bit after this break. Right now, we're taking a break. Join the discussion. Give us a call, 317-239-9393. You have questions or comments about a Second Amendment issue, give us a call. We'll get you on right away. Producer Kylan will. It's 317-239-9393. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
You're going to have to go out there and campaign. You're going to have to go out there and convince. You're going to have to go out there and persuade. You're going to have to find the candidates you want to support and actually support them. But I want it clear. We said it here. The only way out is through. These are hard times, and hard times must create strong women and men. These are the hard times. They're not coming. They're here.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. You know, one thing we do there that I don't talk about a lot here on the show, but we do private firearms training for folks that may be new shooters. A lot of times we do this either for individuals or for couples. Really enjoy doing it. If you're new to handguns, new to the rifle platform, maybe you've got an AR for the first time, just picked up a shotgun, not real sure how to use it, how to load it, how to break it down and clean it. And most of all, how to use it effectively to defend yourself or your family. Any type of firearm, give us a call. We can schedule a private lesson for you. We schedule those through the website, which is tactical-firearms.com. If you click on upcoming courses, they've got a section there where it says private courses available. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, just click on private courses available, and you can load a number of hours that you'd like. Then give us a call or send us an email, and we'll schedule your private lesson. That's tactical-firearms.com.
Hi, I'm Andy, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. As a product development manager, I make sure every piece of fine jewelry at Shane Company is meticulously designed for quality. From 14-karat gold chains, pearl necklaces, diamond studs, and of course, dream engagement rings. We know you can get your holiday gifts anywhere these days, but knowing your loved one's gift was crafted by master jewelers? It's a difference everyone can see and feel, no matter the price. All of our fine jewelry begins with a vision by our in-house designers. Then, we ensure each piece meets our high-quality standards every step of the way, including the smallest details. It's why our jewelry comes with our all-inclusive, free lifetime warranty that covers everything and doesn't cost a dime. At Shane Company, there's no shortcuts, just craftsmanship. Because a friend wants your fine jewelry to be nothing short of perfect. Come see for yourself. Visit us in store or at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
It's the Medicare Advantage annual enrollment period, and Humana knows not everyone has the same needs when picking a Medicare Advantage plan.
Now that I'm retired, I want to enjoy the life I've worked hard to build. So I want a plan that covers me when I'm traveling the country.
Humana has a plan for that.
As a veteran, I want a plan that fills in the gaps my VA coverage doesn't provide, like dental care.
Humana has a plan for that.
I feel good about my health. I just want care and coverage with predictable costs. No surprises.
Humana has a plan for that. With a Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you get coverage and benefits that focus on what matters most to you. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage HMO and PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.
Our electric bills have increased as much as $50 each month. Governor Mike Braun is driving bills even higher. Instead of helping families, Governor Braun is doubling down on costly coal, gas, and nuclear. That means more pricey power plants that Hoosiers like us have to pay for. Utilities get richer, we pay more. Something has to give. Go to StopMikesHikes.com today to send Governor Braun a message. Hoosiers need affordable energy, not a blank check for greedy utilities. Paid for by Citizens Action Coalition.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 8 year old? Listen closely for an exciting offer, then head to abcmouse.com/radio to learn more. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
We're offering a promo at abcmouse.com/radio to try it for free for a month, then $14.99 per month until canceled. Go to abcmouse.com/radio to see this offer. That's abcmouse.com/radio. Actual ABC Mouse users compensated for their testimonials, sponsored by Age of Learning.
Let's drive. Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Just before that break, I was talking about crimes of domestic violence. And I'll tell you what, this catches people unaware a lot. And I hate having this conversation because invariably it ends up with people very upset at their prior lawyers. But for instance, a crime of domestic violence has a very broad definition. It's any crime, doesn't matter what you call it. It could be battery, could be domestic battery, could be criminal confinement, could be intimidation. If it meets a certain definition, which is any crime, doesn't matter what you call it, if it has as an element of the crime either the use of physical force, by definition, any battery involves the use of force. You know what a battery is? I've been saying for a long damn time, a battery is the easiest crime for any prosecutor to ever get a conviction on. It's the easiest crime to ever prove. You know what a battery is? Battery is touching someone in a rude, angry, or insolent manner. Touching in a rude, angry, or insolent manner. You don't have to hurt them. You have to be trying to hurt them. You shove someone. Is that a battery? Yeah, it is. If you do it in a rude, angry, or insolent manner. The thing guys do where we poke each other in the chest. I'm going to kick your butt. And you poke somebody with your index finger. Is that touching someone in a rude, angry, or insolent manner? Hell yeah, it is. So if it involves either the use of physical force or the threatened use of a deadly weapon, so you don't even have to touch anyone. You wave a knife around, you wave a baseball bat around, certainly a gun, threaten them. That's why intimidation can apply. Criminal confinement, you know what criminal confinement is? That's just preventing someone from moving. So someone says, that's it, I'm leaving the house. You stand in front of the door and say, no, hell no, you're not. You put your hand on them. You use force to keep them from walking out the door because you put your hand in the middle of their chest or you grab them by the shoulders. That's now criminal confinement by way of a battery. It's also a battery. And if that person now is a family or household member, and family or household member has an incredibly broad definition. Anyone you've ever dated, been in a romantic relationship with, someone you're related to by blood, your great-grandson, and it goes on from there. It's a very broad definition. So any crime, doesn't matter what you call it. So there are people, it happens all the time, people get charged with domestic battery because they got into an angry argument with their spouse. Somebody calls 911, the police arrive. So what happened? Well, he shoved me, he pushed me, he hit me, she hit me, she pushed me, she scratched me, whatever it might be. Those are batteries, and they're against a family or household member. So a lot of times people get charged with domestic battery, and then here's what happens. Sometimes the prosecutor will come to them and say, you know, if you get a conviction for domestic battery, you'll lose your gun rights. Because a lot of times they'll know. Like, I've had clients that were cops or firearms instructors or avid hunters or competitive shooters. And prosecutors figure out their gun rights are a big deal to them. They'll say, we'll drop the domestic battery if you just plead guilty to battery. It's a misdemeanor. No jail time, only a year of probation, go on with life. And so they plead guilty to battery because they dropped the domestic battery, and everyone is under the impression, the defense attorney, certainly the client, often the judge, maybe even the prosecutor, because I'm not saying this is even done intentionally. Sometimes it's just done out of not understanding how the law in this area works, because not everybody is a student of the Second Amendment issues as controlled by Indiana law or federal law. So somebody will plead guilty to battery after domestic battery is dropped and are there then very upset to learn later on they go to try to buy a gun or they apply for their license to carry, and they're told you can't possess a gun because you have a conviction for a crime of domestic violence. A lot of times then they call me and they say, well, what is going on here? Because I had this case, my lawyer told me they were dropping domestic battery. I just pled guilty to battery, and since it's not domestic, but it's not a crime of domestic violence. I said, well, who was the victim? Well, it doesn't matter who the victim was. It matters a lot. Well, victim was my wife. Victim was my husband. Victim was my ex-husband. Well, it's a crime of domestic violence. And they often then want to explain to me that I just don't understand because they say, no, they dropped the domestic battery. I go, does it make any difference? Even though it's just battery, since it was a crime involving the use of physical force and the victim was a family or household member, it's a crime of domestic violence, and there's a separate statute. There's one statute that says if you have a conviction for domestic battery, you can't possess a gun. There's another statute that says if you have a conviction for a crime of domestic violence, you can't possess a gun. So when they dropped domestic battery, you were okay under the one statute, but not the other one. You do have a conviction for crime of domestic violence, and you can't possess a firearm. And then sometimes they'll even call me and say, no, you don't understand. I had it expunged. So when they're upset, because they should never, in their mind, should have never lost their rights at all because it wasn't domestic battery, it was just battery. And then they had it expunged. And I said, well, I got more bad news for you, because an expungement for a crime of domestic violence does not restore your gun rights. And now they're really upset because they may have spent quite a bit of money on the expungement, paying a lawyer to do that for them. And the only good news in that scenario is that there is a restoration process after a crime of domestic violence. If it's been at least 5 years since the conviction for a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, you can file what's called a petition for restoration of rights. It's a whole separate process from expungement. If you also want it off your record, you can also file an expungement. For the restoration, again, it's discretionary, like an expungement for a higher level crime. So even though it's a misdemeanor or a low-level felony, it's discretionary. It doesn't matter what level crime it is. If it was a crime of domestic violence, again, you file those. Judges set them for hearing. Then you go in and you present your case. Here's why. Here's what happened. Here's what resulted. Here's what this person's life's been like. Here's what their relationships have been like since then. Here's their employment history. Here's their contributions to their community, whatever it might be. Here's why this person deserves to have their rights restored. And again, judges look at that for the most part and say, hey, if this is someone who's turned their lives around, who learned from their mistake, and a lot of times, and listen, I'm not minimizing the problem we have in this country with crimes of domestic violence. We have a horrible problem with. My mother was a victim of horrible domestic violence, not from my father, from a subsequent relationship after my parents were no longer together. It's somebody I'm still somewhat blessed that I'm not personally in jail based on what I wanted to do to this person after he battered my mother. So we have a horrible problem with crimes of domestic violence, and nothing I'm ever going to say is going to diminish that. However, there are also situations that involve a pretty minor transgression, a push, a shove, a scratch, something done in anger that everybody learned from, everybody's remorseful for, and that's why there's a process for getting your rights restored after that. I'm glad that there is, but a lot of times people are dismayed that they ever lost their rights to begin with, much less if there's a legal process they have to go through separate and apart from expungement in order to get those rights restored. But that's something that we do a lot of, and I'm glad to do, and I'm glad to let people know how that works. And I see a couple of people have called with some questions about that. Tell you what, we're going to take a quick break here at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, I'll go right to the phone lines. So Yancey, Casey, my buddy Kelly is on there too. We'll go right to the phone lines when we come back. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Picture this. Your career ends, your paycheck stops. Suddenly you're conducting your retirement with no sheet music. Don't let that happen. I'm Jason Hutchins, and after years of guiding Hoosier families through retirement planning, I put together some of the most important lessons into one simple, easy-to-read book, Orchestrate Your Retirement, a guide to composing a financially tuned plan. Get a copy mailed to you at no cost. Call 317-660-929. That's 317-660-929. This book is packed with real-world stories and strategies on income, Social Security, taxes, and how to protect what you've worked so hard to build. Call Guardian Wells Financial at 317-660-929. That's 660-929 and ask for your copy. No pressure, no strings attached. Supplies are limited, so when they're gone, they're gone. Orchestrate your retirement. The rhythm of your future starts here.
Investment advisory services offered through Creative One Wealth LLC, a registered investment advisor. Guardian Wells Financial is not affiliated with Creative One Wealth or with any government agency. Licensed insurance professionals.
Attention Indiana homeowners. Are you dealing with a wet and moldy crawl space? Hi, I'm Adam Swain with Swain Co. Crawl Space and Basement Repair, your real, local, Indiana family-owned experts dedicated to fixing your crawl space right the first time. And with our new no interest, no payment financing, you can get the repairs you need without breaking the bank. Don't let crawl space water problems dampen your spirits. Call Swain Co., Indy's most trusted waterproofing experts at 317-407-1868 or swaincollc.com.
Stuck in a job that just isn't getting it done? Maybe it's time to go for IT.
Whether you're just starting out, switching careers, or a military veteran ready for change, My Computer Career can help you launch a rewarding career in IT in months. No prior experience needed. Why spend years getting a traditional degree when your future in IT can start right now? Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu today. Your most powerful upgrade? Your career. Go for it. Go for IT. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Roberts. The Senate ends a rare Saturday workday without a vote on a plan to end the government shutdown.
Republicans have a bill to reopen the government through the end of January. It would also run the VA along with ag programs. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer pushing a plan to open the government but defray the cost of Obamacare. Republicans balked at Schumer's plan.
Fox's Chad program. A driver crashed into a crowd in Tampa's Ybor City, killing 4 people and injuring 13. Police Chief Lee Burkaw.
A careless, reckless driver takes everybody's lives in his hands and just ended this night in a situation that's never going to be the same for these individuals.
Police arrested the suspect, 22-year-old Silas Sampson, say he was racing another driver and trying to elude police. America's listening to Fox News.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Madison County Fairgrounds in Alexandria. The best dealers in the region. Hundreds of tables. Just $6 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Madison County Fairgrounds in Alexandria. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Fostech is American-made firearms made right here in Indiana. American craftsmanship meets cutting-edge innovation. Their lightweight AR-15s are incredible, and they don't sacrifice dependability or durability. Advanced machining capabilities create incredible products, and they are all designed, machined, assembled, and tested right here in Indiana. Fostech, owned by a family that has served and loved their country. Find a dealer near you or visit Fostech.com. That's F-O-S-T-E-C-H, Fostech.com. Use promo code WIBC for 10% off your order.
Growing your retail business is easier with Shopify Point of Sale. Shopify POS connects your entire retail store, in-store, online, and social media on one platform. It's built for how customers shop today and for how they'll shop tomorrow. The result? Smoother checkouts and deeper customer relationships that pay off and keep them coming back. Ready to grow with Shopify POS? Visit Shopify.com/switch now for more details. That's Shopify.com/switch now.
Hensley Legal Group is one of those firms that puts the client above all else.
We pride ourselves in caring and communication. We're extremely passionate about helping them through their tough times. We truly want to see our clients get better.
It happens. Hire Hensley.
What if the next time you painted your home was the last time you painted your home?
Our Rhino Shield has been on for 8 years.
Rhino Shield. Call 888-RHINO-41. Don't paint, don't vinyl. Go Rhino.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. Thanks so much for being with us here on the Gun Guy Show this evening. Let's go right to the phone lines. And my pal, Kelly and Avon, is on the phone, otherwise known as the Assistant Legislative Director, or Co-Legislative Director, excuse me. I almost gave you a demotion there, Kelly. Co-Legislative Director at the Indiana State Rifle and Pistol Association. And so ISRPI and Kelly and I work together closely. And Kelly, what you got for us, buddy?
Oh, well, first off, Guy, I have to say I've been calling in your show for years.
You have.
And Kylan is by far the nicest producer you've ever had. So whoever you got to poach her from to make her your producer, I would say do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't afford Kylan on any kind of a regular basis. She's got many more important jobs. She's just being nice enough to sit in because producer Jack's gone on to other things. And so that's why I called her our celebrity guest producer. We wouldn't be lucky enough to talk her into doing it all the time. She's got more important things to do, but we do appreciate her being here and helping out really out of the goodness of her heart. But I couldn't agree with you more. If I could talk her into accepting the gig full time, I'd be all over it.
Yeah, that would I would definitely recommend that. Well, you've already said, well, we can't talk about tonight.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
I thought I'd bring up the legislative session that's coming up. That's
you bet.
Not only a short session, but going to be a short session this year. Yeah, that's. I mean, with it starting early to argue over redistricting, and if you look at how the legislative session works, the only place you can shorten the timeline on this is have fewer bills come up in hearing. That is the only way you can do it. It's not like you can say, well, we're going to skip first reading and go straight here, or, well, no amendments, we're going straight to third reading. There's probably laws against that. I don't think they can do that.
No, you're right. But, the process is set, and as far as the different stages that a bill has to go through in order to get passed. And your point, Kelly, and I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent here, but when Governor Braun called a special session, not only for the legislature to address redistricting at the request of President Trump and Vice President Vance and others in Washington, but then also to address aligning Indiana's tax code with changes in federal tax code, Governor Braun called a special session. And you know what the legislature essentially did was said no, which that's kind of not how the Indiana Constitution works. The governor calls a special session if he calls a special session. The legislature said, no, we're not really going to have a special session. We're just going to start the 2025 session a little early and in order to address these things. But they didn't give themselves very much time, which means it's going to eat up time for other legislative matters, which is a long-winded way of saying I agree with you that I'm a little disappointed that we're not going to have more time in a short session anyway. Just for everybody understands that. Every other year is a budget year. That's a long session. And then we have the short session, which originally never didn't occur at all. The short session was when they started convening legislature every year, which for years after Indiana became a state, the legislature only met every other year. So anyway, we're in a short session anyway that's going to get eaten into by redistricting and tax alignment. And so what the hell are we going to get done becomes the question.
Yeah, because I think, when I know there's a lot of folks listening to this, they get emails from you from the 2A Project. They're going to get emails from Nick Bugia from the NRA, and it won't have my name on it, but they will get an email drafted by me from the State Rifle and Pistol Association talking about legislation, and it's going to be we're going to have to hit them fast and furious to get their attention, to get something through there, because we're, as it is, if they shorten the number of weeks they're having committee hearings, it very well could be you're supporting a bill on the Senate side, and I'm on the House side supporting a similar bill. But because they're overlapping, we can't be in two places at once. Yeah,
that's true. And, some of the things that I think are going to require a lot of debate and protracted fighting over, like, we're going to try to bring back campus carry, which is to require state universities in Indiana to allow the possession of firearms on campus. That's going to be a contentious issue. In a regular session, I would have some optimism we'd at least have a fighting chance. In a short session, I just don't think many committee chair are even going to want to take that on, given the extreme shortness of the session.
Yeah, and that's one I've got 3 to 5 minutes ready to go on it right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one that's to me easy, and it's an extension of what I got done in terms of a bill I wrote last year, which is our requiring expungement of red flag proceedings once a person's determined to be not dangerous in a red flag proceeding. We got that done last year. That's already I've already used that multiple times for clients, and I love doing it. I just had a hearing on Thursday where I've already submitted a proposed order that's going to expunge all those records under that. But an extension of that is to also require the appointment of counsel for anyone who can't afford their own lawyer in a red flag case. Because it's not a criminal case, so you don't have a right to counsel, which is ludicrous to me. If you can lose a constitutional right, your Second Amendment rights, become a prohibited possessor, and you can't afford a lawyer, and you don't get a lawyer, how is that consistent with due process? And so I think that one's easy, straightforward, and simple enough. The only problem is it's a non-budget year, and so we may run into a problem where it has to go through Ways and Means, and there has to be an allocation of money, because someone's going to say who's going to pay for the lawyer. They're now going to be appointed for people that can't afford their own. But whether and we're going to take a break here pretty soon, Kelly. What would you say is a priority for ISRPA and trying to get it done this year?
Well, I tell you, that bill you just mentioned is definitely one I think we could get across, because it's you walk in and your opening statement is, last year expungement passed unanimously out of both houses.
It did. How often have we seen that?
Pretty good start.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. And this, to me, is a logical extension of that. So, hey, thanks so much, Kelly, for calling in. Always glad when you do call in. Love working with you and the good folks at ISRPI. Right now, we're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Insecurity is an urgent problem, one that impacts real Hoosiers. You can help today. Gleaners needs donations. Your contribution goes further with Gleaners. For every $10 you give, Gleaners leverages their resources to turn your $10 into $90 worth of groceries for families who desperately need help right now. Your gift benefits local community members, and every dollar counts. Gleaners also needs volunteers now to help with warehouse distribution. Go to gleaners.org and donate or get involved today.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. $5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code MEGA25 to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code MEGA25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code MEGA25 for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
JMV here. It's the most wonderful time of the year at Miss M's Home and Garden. Join them Saturday, November 22nd and Sunday, November 23rd for their annual holiday open house. Stroll through the garden shop to shop the festive decor, enjoy food samples, and sign up for giveaways and door prizes with your purchase. Fresh cut trees, greenery, wreaths, porch pots, and more will fill the greenhouse. Bring your family and friends to enjoy the festivities. Miss M's is located on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
Snap it. Send it. Hear it. Your photos, your video, your voice on WIBC. Join the text club by texting WIBC to 317-239-9393. Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for our last segment here on the Gun Guy Show. I'll tell you, we've had some people on hold for quite a while. Let's see if we can do a little bit of a blitz on the phones here. Keep it succinct if you don't mind, and we'll see if we can get to everybody online. And Yancey is called. Yancey, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yes, sir. I did not know that you had a law and attorney background, so that's interesting to learn also.
Yeah, 42
my
years
question,
now.
42 years. Wow,
42 years.
God. Wow. Yes. Well, I was wondering, I don't have a background as far as past in regards to guns. I'm not a gun person. I don't have any past history or background in regards to harming when it comes to sexuality, things like that. But there's a brief not domestic, but rather an assault on my background as a juvenile. But my question is this, though. If you do have your record expunged, is there any protection for those persons who have this initiative to try to find out what would be in your background, and as far as when it comes to work-related, when employers are trying to find things, or is there any loopholes that even attorneys could even employ to try to find out, even if there's an expungement that has occurred, that they can still find out if you have a track record or such? I mean, is that legal for them to try to even do that if you have a legal
if it's expunged off your record, then really it's sealed off the public record. The only people that have access to that is the court system and law enforcement. Yeah, there are protections. And in fact, The statute even allows you to answer no. If somebody asks you, if you ever have any criminal conviction, if you've had a conviction expunged, you can say no. And there's even an anti-discrimination provision in the expungement statute that says if you're discriminated against for employment or otherwise on the basis of an expunged conviction, it's actually against the law to discriminate someone on the basis of that. So there are protections built into the statute that really make it worthwhile. And the legislature, I think, did a really nice job in doing exactly that. Let's go back to the phone lines. And Casey's been on hold for a while. Man, thanks for your patience, Casey.
It's all right.
I'm sorry?
I said that's okay.
Okay. What you got for us?
Let's say you got a neighbor in distress. You live out in the country. You can't see their house. They're screaming, whatever. And then so you go down there to see what's going on or try and help them out. When would it be all right to use deadly force when you got to their house?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, Casey. And since it's not your house, Indiana's Castle Doctrine, which allows you to defend your home, it actually allows you to use deadly force to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into your home. A lot of people commenting on Indiana self-defense laws right now on social media don't understand that part. You can use reasonable force, including deadly force, if you reasonably believe that force is necessary to prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into your house. But that only applies to your house. That's where you're staying, where you're living. If it's your neighbor's house, the Castle Doctrine doesn't apply to you. So to answer your question, when you can use deadly force to protect your neighbor, other than yourself, is you have to reasonably believe that you're preventing serious bodily injury to you or a third person. That third person can obviously be your neighbor, or the commission of a forcible felony. So let's say you get over there and the screaming, it turns out, that your neighbor's being raped out on the lawn. Well, rape is obviously a forcible felony. Can you use deadly force to defend your neighbor? Absolutely. Against a violent crime, what we call a forcible felony like rape, 100%. Or it's an armed home invasion and people are in there pointing guns at your neighbor. Can you use deadly force? Yes, 100%, to the extent you reasonably believe that force is necessary to prevent serious bodily injury to your neighbor. And I'll tell you what, I think we got time for our last caller. Chap has called in. Chap, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy, I'll be quick for you, and I appreciate your work with everybody. I know some of this stuff may seem basic to you, but it's so interesting to the rest of us. Our family is moving to the west side of Indy to Utah, and I'll preface this with outside of Illinois. We're going to have everything we own trailing behind our vehicle, and I fully plan on either open carrying or it may be underneath a shirt where it is truly concealed. I do have my Indiana license to carry, so I am in the system. Any advice you can give in the event we end up in contact with law enforcement, whether it's a traffic stop, see them at a rest area, something like that for the trip.
In Illinois specifically?
I'm saying outside of Illinois. Illinois, I'm putting it in the back of the car. I ain't touching it. I'm the rest of the states. I'm also a member of USCCA, so I've done a little bit of research on what I can do. I know Illinois is a dead stop. I'm not going to do a thing, or I'm going to be at 65 miles an hour and at 65.
Well, and I'll tell you, thanks for calling, buddy. One thing, let me just, we don't have much time, so I'll answer your question this way. Going through Illinois has changed their law recently, where you now, if with an Indiana license to carry, you can possess a gun in your vehicle in Illinois, only in your vehicle going through Illinois. So I wouldn't stop for gas, get gas in Terre Haute or wherever it is. Do not stop in Illinois. But you can possess a gun now in Illinois with your Indiana license to carry. And that's a wrap for this week's Gun Guy Show. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you come back. Remember, always shoot straight and be safe. This is Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And get this, what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. 5 years of Wi-Fi that boosts speeds to the devices that need them most. That finds and fixes problems before you even notice them. Like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that keeps you gaming in the fast lane, even when the whole family is banking on bandwidth. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and our best equipment included. Hey, let's face it, a lot can change in 5 years. Kids grow taller, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi? It would stay reliable and the price would stay put. The Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities. Xfinity. Imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply.
Hi, this is Denny Smith for Exercise Inc. I've been working out there now for nearly 2 decades, and let me tell you, it works. I'm in my 70s now, and I'm doing things on the farm that I couldn't even do in my 40s. Lifting and carrying, working the way I want to, without worrying if my body can keep up. Now that's real strength. That's real results. What makes Exercise Inc. different? Well, it's the people. The professional staff, many with over 15 years of experience, know exactly how to guide me, support me, and push me to be my very strongest because they know